I'll start with some introductions. I'm Andy. I'm the Vice President Community at the Students' Union. I will be chairing this evening's Q&A session.
I'm Nash. I'm the Vice President Society and Citizenship at the National Union of Students. My role at N.U.S. is to look at all things to do with students' interests in wider society. So I cover things like students' roles in the community, voting in elections, any other things like ethical and environmental campaigns and international issues. So higher education funding isn't my specialism, but I'm here tonight to kind of represent N.U.S. and its positions.
Hi, I'm John Brooks. I'm Vice Chancellor of Manchester.
I'm David Saxon. I'm the Vice President Education Officer at the Students.
To get things underway, can I have our first question?
Hi, I'm Robert, I play a big part in the union, and I also see a lot of freshers and speak to a lot of freshers and stuff. Now, one complaint I have from a lot of people is that there is no sense of community in this university. Nothing. And it is not the university experience that they ever thought possible. Because all it is well, first of all, I understand it's not campus-based like a lot of other universities, and there's community with that. But I see this as a massive problem. I mean, I'm finishing my 5th year of university now, so I did a 4-year course and resat a year because I had good excuses, so I'm not all terrible. But and I've seen it all the way through. There's no community. There's nothing, and I'd like to see. This is more me telling you than a question. I would like to see the university do something about this. It's such a simple thing that would add so much to many people's experiences, whether through sports teams, societies, or events that the university themselves put on. Or try and get us involved. Because at the moment I see none of that really. Or what the union actually does, because the union does try. Don't get me wrong. Most of the time, what they do is almost wasted in my eyes.
I don't know if you want me to just try and deal with this quickly because it's probably not central to the fees debate.
Yeah, I was going to.
But I would say I think there's been a sense of fragmentation within student communities as a result of fees, because students combining work with study, and therefore the concept of the full-time student that engages fully in a collegial life is a thing of the past in many respects. So most of our students actually have employment or family duties or parental duties as well as their study duties. So that is the evolving nature. That's one of the things that I think is a consequence, a downside of the fees. I think for MMU specifically, there's an issue that we not only are not a campus-based university, but we're actually 7 campuses and we're 7 communities. And one of the things we've been trying to do, and in fact are doing, are rationalising from 7 campuses down to 2. Because at the moment, our 35,000 students are distributed all over Manchester, South Cheshire, Crewe and Alsager, and we're trying to bring them together. And I think you'll find that there is more of a community feel on the Crewe campus, where we've brought students together. And when we've brought all our students together here on our All Saints and we've got Burley Fields, I think you'll see that. But I think it's a comment that's relevant to the debate partly because I think the consequence of fees is that students need to work. And I think part-time work has actually undermined some of the society activities, some of the volunteering, although actually the volunteering has improved enormously, hasn't it, over the past 2 years.
On your wider point about the student experience, I think this is a really important aspect of the debate around fees. It's not just about what students experience in their academic, in their subjects. They're also wanting to know what value they get from the wider aspects of the university life and how students can improve their employability or how they can improve their general learning whilst at university beyond their own subject area. And so I think it's really important when we're discussing fees, both at a local or national level, that we look at what students expect from university life, and we look at where they gain their skills outside of their subject area, and how universities are going to be able to fund some of those activities as well as funding the core teaching, because we know that employers do value things like teamwork, like communication. They value things that might come from things that you would do in your volunteering or in your sports and societies or other aspects of your university life, and those should be taken into consideration as well as core teaching.
My lead on was that last year there was this bursary scheme, and every university gets a certain set amount of money to kind of help people with, from poorer
That's
backgrounds.
existed all the time.
But
Variable
what I mean
fee.
is, like, apparently MMU doesn't spend all this money it gets given.
No, you're slightly wrong there.
Okay, correct.
What the situation is that we make a commitment. The variable fee element that we receive, we've always honoured the commitment that 1/3 of that additional money, which is about £12 million for this university, will be spent on staff salaries. 1/3 will be spent on infrastructure, which is capital programmes, and 1/3 will be spent on bursaries. Now, what actually happens is, although we advertise them, we work with the Students' Union to try and maximise, the take-up is only about 80% of those who we know could potentially be eligible. So it's slightly behind the national take-up, but it's not dramatically behind. But we're not far out, actually. So we'd be delighted if the students took it up.
So is there...
I was going to say, what I'll do first is I'll go to David for a response, if that's okay, or to give some kind of statement on that, on that question.
Yeah, I can just talk about what our Advice Centre does on encouraging students to apply through their website and through various marketing mechanisms, and that they go through all the forms with students that come in. But it is getting out to the students who need to know it's there. And I think we could probably, as a university and a union, do a bit more of a joint approach to sort of campaign around raising awareness that the offer agreement does exist and you can go into that.
So if there is any spare cash, what happens to it?
It rolls forward into next year's bursaries.
So if that's been happening for the last 20 years, I don't know, I'm just
No.
speculating. But you know what I mean?
It's happened for the last
It's not
2
like
years.
a humongous pot of a bursary.
No.
But this, I mean, we at N.U.S have argued for a national bursary scheme because of the problems that have existed with the distribution of bursaries, and we believe that students should be getting the money that they require and need, so some institutions, for example, are able to give away more money because they have less students from lower socioeconomic backgrounds applying to their institutions. So almost those institutions with less students from widening participation backgrounds are able to give away more money. So institutions like MMU, who have a really good record on participation from people from lower socioeconomic backgrounds, are penalised in the current system because they have less money to they have more demand on the money that they have to distribute, which is why we believe in N.U.S there should be a national bursary scheme, and it would mean that people therefore are able to access the money when they need it, and it's according to their need, not according to where they study.
The bursaries, talk about the money that rolls over. What the university also does is when they know they've got a lot of money rolling over, they set up other schemes to try and get more money out to more people that need it. For example, they've launched this year a specific fund for care leavers who don't often get any support from any family members. So they can apply for the bursaries and then they can apply for an extra £1,000 as well to help them, which is a grant and not a loan.
Yeah, there are many aspects of our blueprint which are difficult to foresee, or bits that a government or the Brown Review might choose to adopt, and other bits that might be deemed to be unworkable. This aspect is that we said that contribution from graduates should be ring-fenced, and so that basically you would have a People's Trust for Higher Education, and please go beyond the name because the name is it doesn't have to be, the name doesn't have to be taken up. But anyway, the idea is to work similarly to a BBC Trust model, whereby you would have the money coming in from graduates, that money would be ring-fenced to be spent on higher education. So almost it's like, yesterday's graduates are paying for tomorrow's students. A sense of, I suppose, a sense of carrying on from the generations, and a way in which to keep higher education funding at a kind of sustainable and steady level. So we wouldn't have what we've had over previous decades, which is, relatively healthy investment followed by years of cuts and then back up and down again. And it would also mean that it's taking it out of politicians' hands. They would still have the ability to determine how much public investment went into higher education, because that would still be retained within government, but the graduate contribution element would be managed by a separate body, but to stop that kind of cycle of money that comes in from graduates being spent on, say, defence or another area of government spending.